My name is Vicky, and I am 58 years old. The purple bruise on my cheek is from my son Gregory. He did this because the soup I made had no salt. Years of walking on eggshells, and now I have the marks to prove my fear was justified. Tomorrow, his wife Patricia is coming for lunch. He wants me to hide these bruises and smile like nothing happened. Let me know where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button. No one should feel like a prisoner in their own home. Before everything fell apart, I had what most would consider a good life. I taught high school English for nearly 30 years in our small town of Riverside, Michigan. My husband Frank and I bought a modest 2-story house on Maple Street where we raised our only son Gregory. Frank was a kind and gentle accountant who coached Gregory's Little League team and helped build sets for my school plays. We were the definition of a happy, American family until Frank suffered a massive heart attack just after Gregory started his sophomore year of college. At 48, I became a widow and a single parent determined to give my son the best chance at life despite our loss. Gregory had always been a bright, sensitive boy, with Frank's analytical mind and my love of literature. In elementary school, he wrote poems about butterflies and baseball. In high school, he graduated as valedictorian and earned a full scholarship to the University of Michigan for business administration. "Mom, I am going to make you so proud," he promised as he hugged me goodbye on his first day of college. "I will take care of you someday, just like Dad would have wanted." I believed him with all my heart. The changes in Gregory happened gradually. During his college years, his calls became less frequent. When he did visit, he spoke constantly about his impressive professors, important connections, and ambitious classmates. The sweet boy who once brought me wildflowers from our backyard was evolving into a young man obsessed with status and achievement. "You would not understand the pressure, Mom," he would say when I expressed concern about his increasing stress levels. Teaching high school and business are completely different worlds. After graduation, Gregory landed a junior executive position at Midwest Financial Partners in Detroit. At his new job celebration dinner, he announced he had met someone special. "Her name is Patricia," he said, showing me a photo of a striking woman with sleek dark hair and sharp features. "She works in the marketing department. Dad would have been impressed with her business sense." 6 months later, they were engaged. The wedding was lavish beyond anything our family had ever experienced, with Patricia's parents footing most of the bill. Gregory seemed almost embarrassed when introducing me to her family of doctors and corporate lawyers. "My mother is a teacher," he would say quickly, adding, "She sacrificed a lot for my education." I told myself he was just nervous around his impressive new in-laws. In the years that followed, Gregory and Patricia purchased a sprawling colonial home in an exclusive Detroit suburb. Their lives became a whirlwind of career advancement, social climbing, and material acquisition. I saw them only on major holidays when I would drive the 2 hours to their home since they were too busy to visit Riverside. Meanwhile, my health began to deteriorate. Rheumatoid arthritis made teaching increasingly difficult, forcing me to retire earlier than planned at 55. With a reduced pension and mounting medical bills, I struggled financially without Frank's second income. During one difficult winter, when my furnace broke, I reluctantly called Gregory for help. "Mom, this old house is becoming a money pit," he said after paying for the repairs. "Have you considered selling it? The market is actually pretty good right now." 2 weeks later, he arrived with a real estate agent who assessed my home of 30 years in cold, calculating terms. Gregory had a proposal ready. "You could sell this place, invest part of the money, and come live with Patricia and me. We have that guest suite on the first floor that is just sitting empty. It would be perfect for you." The idea of leaving my home was heartbreaking, but my practical side saw the wisdom in his suggestion. My arthritis was worsening, the house required constant maintenance, and living alone was becoming increasingly difficult. Plus, the thought of being closer to Gregory appealed to me. Perhaps we could rebuild the close relationship we once had. With a mixture of grief and hope, I sold my home for $320,000. Gregory helped manage the sale, and promised to invest the proceeds wisely on my behalf. The guest suite in Gregory and Patricia's home was indeed lovely, with a bedroom sitting area and private bathroom. Initially, Gregory seemed pleased to have me there, proudly showing off his successful life and generous spirit to colleagues and friends. "My mother lives with us," he would tell visitors. "Family takes care of family." For the first few months, our arrangement seemed ideal. I kept to myself, helping with cooking and light housekeeping to contribute. Patricia was cordial, though distant, focused on her advancing marketing career. The first warning signs appeared so subtly I barely noticed them. Gregory began criticizing small things: how I loaded the dishwasher, the way I folded his shirts, the volume of my television in the evenings. "Mom, you need to be more careful with our things," he would say. "This is not your old house where it does not matter." His tone increasingly reminded me of a parent scolding a child, rather than a son speaking to his mother. Then came the financial control. When I asked about accessing some of my house sale money for a new winter coat, Gregory frowned. "I have invested most of it. Taking money out now would incur penalties. Just use the monthly allowance I set up for you." The allowance was barely enough for my medications and personal items. When I gently pressed for more information about my investments, Gregory became defensive. "Do you think I would steal from my own mother after everything I have done for you?" The first truly frightening incident occurred during a dinner party Gregory and Patricia hosted for his colleagues. I had been asked to help in the kitchen but not join the guests. As I served appetizers, I accidentally spilled a small amount of wine on the tablecloth. Gregory's face transformed instantly. He gripped my arm tightly while maintaining a smile for his guests. "Clean it up, now." His whispered words carried such venom that I felt physically ill. Later that night, he came to my room, apologized, and explained the pressure he was under to impress his boss. I forgave him, believing it was an isolated incident. It was not. The controlling behavior escalated to occasional pushing or grabbing my arm during arguments. Each time was followed by apologies and excuses about work stress or Patricia's high expectations. I began to feel trapped, especially as I realized I had nowhere else to go. My house was sold, most of my furniture donated or sold, and my savings apparently tied up in investments I could not access. The night of the soup incident began like many others. Gregory had come home irritable after a difficult day at work. Patricia was away on a business trip, so I offered to make his childhood favorite, chicken soup with homemade noodles. What Gregory did not know was that earlier that day, I had received concerning blood test results suggesting my rheumatoid arthritis was worsening significantly. Distracted by worry, I completely forgot to add salt to the soup, a simple mistake that would change everything. "What is this tasteless garbage?" Gregory spat out his first spoonful of soup, his face contorting with disgust. "I am so sorry," I said, immediately realizing my error. "I forgot to add salt. Let me fix it for you." I reached for his bowl, but he pulled it away. How hard is it to make soup properly? One simple task, and you cannot even do that right. "Gregory, please. I just made a mistake." My hands trembled as I tried again to take his bowl. "A mistake?" His voice rose. "My entire life with you has been filled with your mistakes." Before I could respond, he hurled the bowl across the kitchen. Soup splashed against the wall and ceramic shards scattered across the floor. I froze, staring at the mess in shock. "Clean it up," he commanded, standing from his chair. I knelt down, wincing as my arthritic knees protested, and began picking up the broken pieces. "I do not understand why you are so angry over soup," I whispered, tears welling in my eyes. "Because you are useless." He kicked a chair, sending it toppling. "I provide everything for you, and you cannot even make a decent meal." As I reached for another piece of broken bowl, Gregory grabbed my upper arm and yanked me to my feet. Pain shot through my shoulder as I came face to face with a stranger wearing my son's features. "You have been nothing but a burden since you moved in." His grip tightened. "Patricia was right about you." "Gregory, please, you are hurting me." Tears streamed down my face. "Hurting you?" He gave a bitter laugh. "What about how you hurt me, making me look like a fool in front of my friends with your old-fashioned ways? Embarrassing me with your bargain store clothes and pathetic stories about your teaching days." Each word cut deeper than any physical pain. This was my son, my Gregory, the boy I had raised with love and sacrifice. What happened next occurred so quickly, I barely had time to register it. When I tried to pull away from his grip, Gregory shoved me backward. I stumbled against the counter, knocking over a glass that shattered on the floor. The noise seemed to trigger something primal in him. His open hand connected with my cheek in a slap that echoed through the kitchen. The force knocked me sideways, and I clutched the counter to keep from falling. "Gregory!" I gasped, my hand flying to my stinging face. But he was not finished. His fist connected with my upper arm, then my ribs. I crumpled to the floor, curling into a protective ball, as decades of maternal love collided with the present horror. "This is your fault," he growled, standing over me. "You pushed me to this." Through my tears, I saw the little boy who had once cried when he accidentally stepped on an ant, the teenager who helped elderly Mrs. Abernathy carry her groceries every Saturday, the college graduate who hugged me and promised to make his father proud. Where had that son gone? After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, Gregory stormed out of the kitchen and up to his bedroom. I remained on the floor, surrounded by broken ceramic and spilled soup, until I could gather the strength to move. Somehow, I managed to clean the kitchen despite my throbbing face and aching body. Each movement sent pain radiating through my ribs, but the physical agony paled compared to the emotional devastation. My son had beaten me over unsalted soup. I locked myself in my room that night, applying cold compresses to my swelling cheek and examining the darkening bruises on my arms and torso. In the bathroom mirror, a frightened stranger stared back at me. Gray hair, disheveled one eye beginning to blacken cheekbone and angry purple. Sleep evaded me as I replayed the events over and over, searching for what I could have done differently. Should I call the police? Where would I go? Who would believe that my successful, charming son was capable of such violence? The morning light brought no clarity, only the sound of Gregory preparing for work. A knock on my door startled me. "Mom?" His voice was eerily normal. "Are you up?" I hesitated before opening the door just enough to peek out, keeping most of my bruised face hidden. Gregory stood there, in his tailored suit briefcase in hand, looking every bit the successful executive. No trace remained of the monster from the previous night. "Patricia is coming home early. She will be here for lunch around noon," he said casually, as though nothing had happened. "Make sure you cover up those bruises and put on a smile. We do not need her asking questions." I stared at him, speechless. "Did you hear me?" His tone sharpened slightly. "Yes," I managed to whisper. "Good." He checked his watch. "I have an important presentation for James Wilson today. Make sure lunch is ready by 12:30. Patricia likes that chicken salad you make." As he turned to leave, he added, "And Mom, let us not have any more incidents like last night. It is embarrassing for both of us." The front door closed behind him, and I sank to the floor, my legs unable to support me any longer. The beautiful guest suite now felt like a prison cell. I had no money of my own, no car, nowhere to go, and a body too injured to get very far, even if I tried to leave. For the first time, I fully understood the term domestic violence victim. I had read about women trapped in abusive relationships, never imagining I would become one of them. Abused not by a partner, but by my own child. As I slowly pulled myself up from the floor, a different emotion began to rise through the pain and fear. Anger. I refused to let this be my life. Somehow I would find a way out. With shaking hands, I searched through my belongings for concealer and foundation. The bruise on my cheek had darkened overnight to a deep purple with yellowish edges. My right eye was slightly swollen and finger-shaped marks wrapped around my upper arms. The mirror reflected a woman I barely recognized, hunched, frightened, diminished. Once my bedroom door was securely locked, I pulled out my old flip phone, the outdated model Gregory allowed me to keep for emergencies. With trembling fingers, I dialed a number I had not called in years. Sarah Williams speaking. The voice of my former teaching colleague and closest friend answered on the third ring. Sarah, I whispered, afraid Gregory might somehow hear despite being miles away at his office. It is Vicky. Vicky. My goodness, it has been forever. How are you? The simple question broke something inside me, and I began to sob. Vicky, what is wrong? Sarah's tone shifted immediately from cheerful to concerned. Between gasping breaths, I managed to explain what had happened. Sarah listened silently until I finished. You need to document everything, she said firmly. Sarah had become a family law attorney after retiring from teaching. Take photos of your injuries right now. Write down exactly what happened while it is fresh in your memory. Do you have somewhere safe you can go? No, I admitted. I have no money, no car. He controls everything. What about your house money, the $300,000 from the sale? Gregory said he invested it, but he never showed me any paperwork. I do not have access to any accounts. Sarah was quiet for a moment. That sounds like financial abuse on top of physical abuse, Vicky. There are resources that can help you. Shelters, legal aid support groups. She gave me the number for a domestic violence hotline and promised to research options in my area. For now, stay safe. Do what he says if that keeps you from being hurt again. But start gathering evidence and planning your exit. After hanging up, I used my phone's camera to photograph my injuries, angling awkwardly to capture the bruises on my ribs and back. I found an empty notebook and began documenting everything I could remember about the assault and the patterns of control that had preceded it. Then I hid both the phone and notebook in a hollowed-out book, an old copy of Jane Eyre that Gregory would never think to open. Next, I forced myself to research domestic violence resources using the small tablet Gregory had given me for my birthday. I cleared the browser history after each search, paranoid that he might check it. While applying makeup to hide the worst of my facial bruises, I thought about Gregory's financial control. Where had my house money really gone? I had signed several documents at Gregory's request after the sale, but I realized with growing horror that I had never actually seen investment statements or account numbers. Had my own son stolen from me? A memory surfaced of Gregory talking about a lake house he and Patricia were considering purchasing. Just a small vacation property, he had said casually over dinner a few months after I moved in. Had my home been sacrificed for his second property? As I prepared Patricia's chicken salad for lunch, another realization struck me. Several times over the past year, Gregory had mentioned working late with his assistant Melanie. Once I had answered his cell phone when he was in the shower, and a woman had asked for Greg, with a familiarity that seemed beyond professional. Could Gregory be having an affair? The pieces were beginning to fit together. His increasing aggression, late nights, the controlling behavior, the financial deception. Gregory's perfect life facade might be hiding multiple secrets. At 11:45, I called the domestic violence hotline Sarah had recommended. The counselor who answered helped me understand my options and connected me with a local social worker named Diana, who specialized in elder abuse cases. Can you meet somewhere away from your son's home? Diana asked when we spoke briefly. His wife is coming for lunch. After that, I do not know when I will be able to leave the house. I understand. Let us plan for next week. Is there anywhere your son would allow you to go regularly? A library, church, doctor's appointments? I have physical therapy for my arthritis every Tuesday morning. Gregory arranged for a service to drive me. Perfect. I will meet you there next week. Until then, stay safe and keep documenting everything. I had just hidden my phone when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Patricia was home. Taking a deep breath and wincing at the pain in my ribs, I checked my makeup one last time and went to greet my daughter-in-law. Patricia entered the house with her usual brisk efficiency, setting down her designer briefcase and slipping off her tailored blazer. At 34, she was the picture of corporate success, sleek, polished, and perpetually focused. "Hello, Vicky," she said, barely glancing my way as she checked her phone. "Gregory said you were preparing lunch." "Yes, your favorite chicken salad is ready. Would you like it on the patio? The weather is lovely today." "That would be fine." She finally looked up and I saw her expression change subtly. "Are you all right? You look different." I touched my carefully made-up cheek self-consciously. "Just a bit tired. Didn't sleep well." Patricia studied me with narrowed eyes. Unlike Gregory's emotional outbursts, Patricia's scrutiny was coldly analytical. She missed nothing. "Your eye is swollen." It wasn't a question. I walked into a door handle last night. Clumsy of me." The lie felt bitter on my tongue. Patricia set down her phone and approached me, examining my face more closely. "That doesn't look like a door handle injury." Something in her tone made me wonder if she had seen similar injuries before, perhaps on other women, or maybe even on herself. The thought gave me pause. "The table is set outside," I said, trying to change the subject. "Let me bring out the salad." In the kitchen, I arranged the chicken salad on plates with sliced avocado and fresh bread. My hands trembled slightly, causing the serving spoon to clatter against the bowl. "Let me help." Patricia's voice behind me made me jump. She took the plates from my shaking hands. "You're really not okay, are you?" The simple question asked with unexpected gentleness nearly broke my composure. "I'm fine," I insisted weakly. "You're favoring your right side. And that makeup isn't completely covering the bruise." Patricia set down the plates. "Did Gregory do this to you?" The directness of her question stunned me into silence. "It's not the first time he's lost control, is it?" she pressed. Something in her eyes, a mixture of recognition and resignation, made the truth spill out before I could stop it. "He hit me because the soup didn't have salt." Once the words started, they wouldn't stop. "He threw the bowl, pushed me, slapped me, punched me. Then this morning, he acted like nothing happened, just told me to cover up the bruises before you came home." Patricia's face remained composed, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped the counter edge. "I suspected something like this was happening," she said quietly. "The way he speaks to you sometimes, the control, the isolation." "You knew?" I asked, disbelief and hope mingling in my chest. "I've seen glimpses of his temper. Never physical violence, but warning signs." She looked away. "And I found texts on his phone, to Melanie, his assistant." The confirmation of my suspicion about an affair should have hurt, but instead, it felt like another piece of evidence falling into place. "Gregory isn't the man I thought I married," Patricia continued. "I've been gathering documentation for months. Financial records, text messages, emails. I was planning to leave him, but I've been worried about what would happen to you." This revelation stunned me. Patricia, whom I had always seen as cold and distant, had been concerned for my welfare. "He took my house money, didn't he?" I asked. Patricia nodded. $320,000. It went to the down payment on a lake house in Gregory's name only. I found the paperwork in his home office. "I had no idea." "There's more," Patricia said, lowering her voice. "Gregory has been embezzling from Midwest Financial. Small amounts from client accounts spread over time. I discovered discrepancies in some reports he left open on his laptop. My mind reeled with this new information. My son was not just abusive, but a thief and a fraud. His boss, James Wilson, has been investigating some accounting irregularities, Patricia continued. Gregory doesn't know it yet, but James suspects him. Today's presentation is actually a trap. James is giving Gregory the opportunity to explain himself before taking action. What are you going to do? I asked. Patricia's professional composure gave way to a determined smile. What are we going to do, you mean? Gregory hurt you, stole from you, and betrayed both of us. I think it's time he faced consequences for his actions. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number. James, it's Patricia Hamilton. Yes, I know Gregory's presenting today. That's why I'm calling. There's something you need to know before that meeting concludes. She paused, listening. Yes, I can come to the office right now. And I'll be bringing Gregory's mother. She has information you should hear as well. After ending the call, Patricia looked at me directly. This is your chance to stand up to him, Vicky. Are you ready? The fear that had paralyzed me began to transform into resolve. I thought of my late husband, Frank, who had always taught Gregory that character matters above all else. I thought of my decades as a teacher guiding young people to make ethical choices. I thought of the bruises hidden beneath my clothing and the dignity that had been stripped from me. Yes, I said firmly. I'm ready. Patricia nodded approvingly. Take off that makeup. Let James see what Gregory did to you. Grab whatever documentation you've collected. We're going to his office right now. As I washed away the concealer revealing the true extent of my injuries, I felt a weight lifting. The woman in the mirror looked battered but no longer broken. For the first time since moving into Gregory's home, I was taking back control. One more thing, Patricia said as we headed for her car. I recorded Gregory this morning before he left for work. He was on the phone with Melanie discussing their plans for the lake house this weekend. He also mentioned needing to keep his mother in line after what happened last night. You recorded him. I was astonished by Patricia's foresight. I'm a marketing executive with a law degree, Vicky. I don't walk into battles unprepared. She started the car. Gregory has underestimated both of us. That ends today. As we drove toward the gleaming office tower of Midwest Financial Partners, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: hope. Patricia navigated her BMW through downtown Detroit traffic with the same precision she apparently applied to gathering evidence against my son. During the drive, she explained more about her suspicions and discoveries. Gregory started changing about a year ago, she said, expertly weaving between lanes. More secretive, staying late at work, password protecting everything. I initially thought it was just an affair with Melanie. Then I found financial documents that did not make sense. Like what? I asked. Transfers to offshore accounts, cash withdrawals, client statements with discrepancies. Patricia glanced at me. I have an MBA in finance. Numbers tell stories to me, and Gregory's numbers were fiction. We pulled into the underground parking garage of a sleek glass skyscraper. Patricia used her security badge to access the executive level. Won't Gregory see us coming? I worried as we entered the elevator. He's in the main conference room on the east side. We're going to James's office on the west side. James will call Gregory in after we've spoken with him. Patricia guided me through corridors of glass and steel until we reached a corner office with James Wilson, CEO, etched on the door. She knocked confidently. A tall man with silver hair and a serious expression opened the door. His eyes widened slightly at the sight of my bruised face. Patricia, Mrs. Hamilton, please come in. He ushered us to a seating area away from the desk. I was expecting some financial documentation, but it appears there's more to discuss. Patricia took charge. James, this is Vicky Bennett, Gregory's mother. The injuries you see were inflicted by Gregory last night. I sat straighter, summoning my courage. My son beat me because I forgot to put salt in his soup. James's professional composure faltered momentarily. My God, have you reported this to the police? Not yet, I admitted. Everything happened last night. I've been afraid and isolated for months. Gregory has been financially abusing his mother as well, Patricia added, opening her briefcase. He convinced her to sell her home supposedly to invest the money for her. Instead, he used the $320,000 for a down payment on a lake house in his name only. She handed James several documents, copies of the house sale bank transfers and the lake house purchase. Mrs. Bennett had no knowledge of this, Patricia continued. She's been living in our home with no access to her own money, essentially a prisoner. James reviewed the documents with a deepening frown. This is disturbing, but unfortunately not entirely surprising given what we've uncovered here. He pulled out a folder from his desk. Our internal audit has identified approximately $750,000 missing from client accounts over the past 18 months. The common factor in all these accounts is Gregory's access and oversight. My hand flew to my mouth. $750,000. We've been building the case carefully, James explained. Today's presentation was designed to give Gregory enough rope to either come clean or hang himself. He's been asked to explain several financial discrepancies that only he could have created. Patricia handed over a USB drive. This contains recorded conversations between Gregory and his assistant Melanie discussing client account manipulations. Also included are photographs of the lake house purchased with Vicky's money and a recording from this morning where Gregory references the abuse. I added my own evidence, the photos of my injuries I had taken that morning and the journal entries documenting the escalating abuse. James reviewed everything methodically, his expression growing grimmer by the minute. Finally, he picked up his desk phone. Jennifer, please ask Gregory Hamilton to come to my office when his presentation concludes. Thank you. He hung up and looked at us. The presentation should be finishing in about 10 minutes. Are you both prepared to confront him? The reality of what was about to happen hit me full force. I would soon face my abuser, my son, with his crimes exposed. I need to do this, I said more to myself than to James and Patricia, for my own healing and to make sure he cannot hurt anyone else. James nodded respectfully. Mrs. Bennett, what Gregory has done to you is unconscionable. I want you to know that Midwest Financial takes this extremely seriously. We will support you through whatever legal action you choose to pursue. Thank you, I whispered. We waited in tense silence until a knock sounded on the door. James called for the person to enter. Gregory walked in confidently, a portfolio under his arm and a practiced smile on his face. That smile froze when he saw Patricia and me sitting across from his boss. What's going on? He asked, his eyes darting between us. When his gaze fixed on my unmade-up face, revealing the full extent of my bruises, his expression hardened. Mom, what are you doing here? Sit down, Gregory, James commanded in a tone that brooked no argument. Gregory complied, though his body language remained defensive. Is there a problem with my presentation? The presentation is the least of your concerns right now, James replied coldly. I've just been looking at evidence of financial fraud, embezzlement, and domestic violence. Gregory's face paled, but he quickly recovered. There must be some mistake, whatever they've told you. Save it, Patricia interrupted. We have the documentation. The lake house purchased with your mother's money. The client accounts you've been skimming from. The text to Melanie about your extra income. And now physical abuse of your mother. Gregory's eyes narrowed as he looked at me. You're exaggerating what happened. We had a disagreement, that is all. A disagreement? I found my voice stronger than I expected. You threw a bowl of soup, pushed me into a counter, slapped me across the face, and punched me repeatedly. Oversalt, Gregory. Oversalt in soup. She fell, Gregory insisted to James. She is clumsy because of her arthritis. I tried to catch her. James slid my phone across the table, displaying the photos of bruises clearly showing finger marks and fist impacts. These are not injuries from a fall, Gregory. For a moment, Gregory seemed to deflate. Then his expression changed, turning cold and calculating. This is a setup. Patricia has wanted a divorce for months. She's manipulating my mother to get more money in the settlement. Patricia laughed without humor. That's rich coming from the man who stole his mother's house money and has been sleeping with his assistant while embezzling from the company. Gregory's face flushed with anger. He turned to me with the same expression he had worn just before hitting me the previous night. You ungrateful, pathetic old woman. After everything I've done for you, you'd be in some crummy nursing home if it weren't for me. That is enough, James cut in sharply. Gregory Hamilton, you are terminated from Midwest Financial Partners effective immediately. Security will escort you to clear your desk. The company will be pressing charges for embezzlement and fraud. You can't do this to me. Gregory stood up, his voice rising. I've made millions for this company. And stolen $750,000 for yourself. James replied evenly. The police have already been notified. Gregory turned on Patricia and me, his face contorted with rage. You two planned this. You ruined everything. As he took a threatening step toward us, James pressed a button on his desk. Immediately, 2 security officers entered the room. Please escort Mr. Hamilton to his office to collect his personal belongings only. He is not to access any computers or files. When he's finished, escort him from the building. As the security officers moved to Gregory's sides, I saw the realization of his downfall wash over him. The mask of the successful executive crumbled, revealing the frightened, angry man beneath. Mom. His tone suddenly changed to pleading. You know I love you. I've been under so much stress. I never meant to hurt you. Please don't do this. Looking at my son, the boy I had raised the man he had become, I felt a complex mixture of love, disappointment, and resolve. I do love you, Gregory, I said quietly. But I cannot allow you to hurt me anymore. What you did was wrong. There have to be consequences. As security led him away, Gregory's pleas turned to threats, then to sobbing. The heavy office door closed behind them, muffling his voice, until there was silence. James turned to me with genuine concern. Mrs. Bennett, do you wish to file a police report about the assault? I took a deep breath, feeling the pain in my ribs, but also a new strength in my spirit. Yes, and I want to press charges for the theft of my house money as well. I'll have our corporate attorney assist you, James promised. And Patricia, I assume you'll be proceeding with divorce. Patricia nodded firmly. Immediately. As we completed police statements and began the legal processes that would consume the coming weeks, I felt both exhausted and liberated. In the span of 24 hours, my world had been shattered and then reconstructed on a foundation of truth rather than fear. Where will you go now? Patricia asked as we left the building. Police officers were leading Gregory handcuffed to a waiting patrol car. I watched my son, hunched and defeated, and felt a mother's eternal grief for what might have been alongside the survivor's determination for what could still be. I don't know yet, I admitted, but for the first time in years, I get to decide for myself. 6 months later, I placed a vase of fresh daisies on the small dining table of my new apartment. The 1-bedroom unit in a senior living community wasn't large, but it was mine, paid for with the restitution from Gregory's financial crimes and my recovered house money. The journey to this moment of peace had been difficult but transformative. The day after our confrontation at Midwest Financial, I moved into a domestic violence shelter with Patricia's help. Those first weeks were a blur of police interviews, medical examinations, legal paperwork, and emotional processing. Gregory initially hired an expensive attorney and pleaded not guilty to all charges. However, The evidence against him was overwhelming. Beyond my testimony and documented injuries, Patricia provided financial records proving he had misappropriated my house money. Midwest Financial's forensic accountants uncovered the full extent of his embezzlement, nearly $800,000 stolen from client accounts over 2 years. Faced with multiple felony charges, Gregory eventually accepted a plea deal guilty to domestic violence, financial elder abuse, and corporate embezzlement. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison and ordered to pay full restitution to all victims, including me. The court proceedings were agonizing. Sitting in the courtroom while my son was sentenced, I felt both vindicated and heartbroken. The little boy who had once made me Mother's Day cards with crayon hearts was now a convicted felon being led away in handcuffs. Through it all, I found unexpected support. The domestic violence advocacy group connected me with a therapist specializing in elder abuse. Sarah, my old teaching colleague, helped navigate the legal complexities. Most surprisingly, Patricia remained a steadfast ally even after her divorce from Gregory was finalized. "We're family now, in our own way," she told me over coffee one afternoon. "Survivors of the same storm." The local library offered me a part-time position shelving books and assisting with children's reading programs, gentle work that accommodated my arthritis while providing purpose and community. Slowly, I rebuilt my identity beyond Gregory's mother, or abuse victim. The most difficult day came 3 months into Gregory's incarceration when he requested I visit him. After much deliberation and discussion with my therapist, I agreed. The prison visiting room was stark and institutional, nothing like the warm home where I had raised him. Gregory, dressed in a beige jumpsuit, looked simultaneously older and younger than his 41 years. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears. "Mom, I'm so sorry," he began, his voice breaking. "I don't expect forgiveness. What I did was unforgivable, but I needed you to know that I understand now how wrong I was." We talked for an hour about his childhood, his father's values, the gradual corruption of his character through greed and entitlement. He spoke about the anger management and therapy programs he was participating in while incarcerated. "I lost myself," he admitted. "Somewhere between wanting success and achieving it, I forgot everything you and Dad taught me about decency and respect." I didn't offer easy absolution. Instead, I told him the truth. "I will always love you as my son, Gregory, but trust must be earned, and you have a long road ahead to rebuild what you've destroyed." As I prepared to leave, he asked hesitantly, "Will you come again sometime?" "Yes," I replied, "but on my terms when I'm ready." That visit marked a turning point in my healing, not because of any miraculous reconciliation, but because I had faced my abuser with dignity and strength, setting boundaries instead of seeking approval. Now, 6 months after that terrible night, when soup without salt had triggered violence, I was hosting my first dinner party in my new home. Sarah was bringing her famous apple pie. 2 women from my support group were contributing side dishes. Patricia was arriving early to help set up. The doorbell rang promptly at 5, and I opened it to find Patricia holding a bottle of wine and a small gift bag. "For your new home," she said, handing me the bag. Inside was a beautiful salt and pepper set made of hand-painted ceramic. "I thought it was appropriate," Patricia smiled. "A reminder that you get to season your own life now exactly how you want it." I hugged her, grateful for this unlikely friendship that had blossomed from shared trauma. As my guests arrived and gathered around my modest table, I felt a sense of accomplishment that went beyond surviving. I was thriving, building a new community, and reclaiming my voice. Over dinner, we shared stories of resilience and recovery. These women understood what it meant to rebuild from the ground up, to find strength in vulnerability, and to create safety after living with fear. I volunteer at the crisis hotline now, I told them. 3 hours every Thursday. It helps to use my experience to support others just beginning their journey. Full circle, Sarah nodded approvingly. The teacher becomes the guide again. Later that evening, after my guests had gone, I sat on my small balcony watching the sunset. I thought about the woman I had been a year ago, diminished, frightened, isolated. The contrast with who I had become, independent, connected, purposeful, was striking. The path to healing wasn't linear or complete. I still had moments of grief for the son I had lost to his own demons, flashes of anxiety when I heard raised voices and occasional nightmares about that soup-splattered kitchen. But these moments no longer defined me. At 58, I had learned that it's never too late to start over, to demand respect, to build boundaries, and to live authentically. My rheumatoid arthritis still limited my physical abilities, but my spirit had never been stronger. I opened my journal, no longer a secret record of abuse, but a celebration of recovery, and wrote, "Today I am not a victim or even just a survivor. I am a woman who chose herself, who found her voice, who seasoned her own soup exactly as she liked it." Have you ever had to stand up to someone who hurt you or took advantage of you? How did you find the courage to break free? Share your story in the comments below. If this story helped you recognize warning signs of abuse or gave you hope for healing, please like and subscribe to hear more stories of resilience and transformation. And if you know someone who might need these words, share this video with them. Remember, no one deserves to be abused, and it's never too late to seek help. Thank you for listening to my journey, and may you always have the strength to season your own life exactly as you choose.